I just had a really interesting conversation with the host of a podcast. She's very graciously interviewing me, and she will be featuring my story in May of this year. The podcast is called Imperfect Adulting, which ties in beautifully to small business, because that's what we're doing in small businesses, right? We are definitely adulting imperfectly. Okay, so based on the conversation with her, I wanted to share some thoughts and takeaways, because it was a great discussion. It was very conversational, and some things came up that I think are worth sharing. Okay, so if you own a business and you're thinking of selling it, I've made some notes over here, and you're thinking of selling it, one of the things that you're going to have to be aware of is that the process is going to be stressful. And this is something that we talked about on the podcast. I've made some notes for you as to why it's going to be stressful. And I think we can start with the types of buyers. So let's just say you've gone through the process of getting a valuation done. You know what your business is worth, and you're mentally and emotionally ready to sell. Okay, great. So here we go. Now we start dealing with buyers. What types of buyers are you going to have to deal with? And then why am I saying that it's going to be stressful dealing with buyers? Because that's what you want, right? You want to speak to buyers. Well, the first buyer is the friendly competitor. And this may be somebody that has approached you directly, or that you have approached because you've said, hey, I'm going to be thinking about selling the business. Would you be interested in buying it? But what's going to be so stressful about the friendly competitor? Well, number one, and I bet you if you were on this video with me and I asked you this question, I bet you could explain this to me if you own a business. The friendly competitor, they're going to sign a non-disclosure. They're going to sign a confidentiality agreement. But once you give them all your financials and they start asking you questions, if they don't move forward and they decide not to buy your business, now they know what you're up to, and that gives them a competitive advantage over you. And I think that would be the most stressful thing about dealing with a friendly competitor. So if you are going to go into discussions with one of your local competitors, sorry, I feel like I'm saying that word over and over, you're going to want to have a lawyer involved. Don't do this on your own, because you could very easily trip yourself up by A, getting really stressed out if they start asking questions, and B, giving away information that you don't need to at certain stages in the discussions. So you may be tempted to talk, and we all love talking about our businesses, and we can tell you all about our businesses, but there's only certain information that's needed at certain times. So you don't need to give, kind of lift the hood of the car up and show them everything. So having a lawyer involved would be a good idea. Let's just say if you're not working with a business broker, right? Full disclosure, I'm a business broker. I have a boutique business brokerage firm, but I don't want to make these videos to push that on you. I just want to share what I know, and I hope that it's helpful as you learn or go on a journey of selling your own business or thinking about selling your business. So, friendly competitor, that could be stressful. Have a lawyer, just spend the money to be able to draft up a non-disclosure, or go ahead and get yourself a business broker. Now, the thing with a business broker is, okay, so what's going to happen? A business broker won't charge you any money up front. Okay, they work on success fees, but they are going to want some type of exclusivity. So it means once you engage the services of a business broker, you will then be, if you agree to it, you will be tied to working with them exclusively. And that's fair, just so that as they're working towards a success fee, you're not working with multiple brokers, or, just receiving a buyer from them and then going and speaking to the buyer on your own. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. I would say with a friendly competitor, you could start your initial conversation and then just maybe, have a lawyer draft up an NDA for you and get some guidance. But I mean, lawyers can get expensive pretty quickly, but trying to do everything, trying to save money won't save you on stress. Okay, so that's the friendly competitor. Number 2 is the employee. What if you try to sell to an employee? Why would that be stressful? Well, there are several reasons. First of all, most business owners believe that the employees don't have any money. So how will they fund the transaction? Okay, that may be true. I don't know. But second of all, it will be stressful. Well, first point on that, employees, they don't need a lot of money to buy the business. They're going to qualify for SBA financing. I just spoke to a lender yesterday and asked, what programs they have for employees, what's required. And he said that they would treat this as a management buyout, and typically they could get the employee into the business for about 2.5% down. So that's not bad. There's not a lot of money to come up with, and they could certainly, maybe they could speak with friends and family to make that happen. So that takes the stress off. Where's the money going to come from? Okay. Or you could be like my friend who she owner financed her whole deal. A lot of people will avoid against that, but she has been very successful at it, and she has funded her own retirement, and she has been, she has a 15-year plan for them to pay her back, and to buy her out, and she is still the majority shareholder. So, again, lawyers can help with this, business brokers can help with information like this. Those are good professionals to have in your back pocket. So why else would it be stressful to sell to an employee? Well, let's look at it this way. So I did some work a while back for an employee of a business, and I helped him to analyze the business. He was considering buying it from his boss, and I was able to do a valuation for him. And the owner of the business, his boss, they were miles apart on price. Like, the owner just had a price in mind, and that was it. The owner didn't get a valuation done. The employee did. And they were like this. So that deal didn't go anywhere. And now the employee has seen all the books. They've seen the financials. They've seen the profit. They know all the ins and outs of the business. And they've decided they can't buy the business because the owner wants too much. They want more than it's actually worth, and they know they won't get the financing for it and all this other stuff. And now the employee has to keep their job. Now the boss knows that the employee's seen all the financials. And in small businesses, in a big company, that's not a big deal. That type of information is shared in a publicly traded company or something like that. But in a small business, that can be a little bit uncomfortable for a business owner. So that could be stressful if the deal doesn't go anywhere. Now you've shown everything. The next, this is a good one. So the next type of buyer that could cause you stress is your children. So now, why would your children be stressful to sell your business to? Because they especially probably want a bargain. I remember being in a conversation where I was at a trade association event, and I was friendly with a couple of the business owners, and one of them was wanting to sell his business to his children, and he was talking to a company that specialized. They actually did valuations and brokering and this type of work, but they specialized only in that niche. And he was talking to he was presenting something to the business owners. And so this business owner was talking to the presenter, and he said, my kids, they want to buy the business, but they want to buy it for nothing. They don't understand. And what did the guy told him? The value's the value. He said, get a valuation done, and your children will have to pay the amount to you that the business is worth, and that's it. And the business owner was really relieved to hear that. And he said he was going to go back to the office and tell the kids that the next day. So that's what can be stressful about your children, right? It's emotionally driven. Maybe they've been working in the business with you. Maybe they're dying to take over the reins, or maybe they lean on you, and maybe they get benefits that they shouldn't really get as a regular employee. So children, I'm advising that you definitely will want to get a valuation done for your business, and then present that to them and let them go and get independent advice. Because if the children are buying the business from you, you're going to have to remove the emotion from that and make sure that it's a fair deal for everybody. The last thing you want in a family business is any buyer or seller remorse when it's all said and done and you have to go and see each other on Thanksgiving. Okay. The next type of buyer that could make it stressful is someone in your community. So why would someone in your community make things stressful for you if they were looking to buy your business? Well, while we have things called non-disclosure agreements, people do tend to talk. So they shouldn't, but they do. So one of the things that will be stressful is if word gets out in the community that you're considering selling, people will then think something is wrong, or people just gossip. And the biggest thing is you've got to keep it from your employees, because they are an integral part of the business and they have to stay, and they have to stay with a positive mindset, ready to do the work that needs to be done in the business. Okay, so selling to someone in your community, you're going to want to, again, have a lawyer, have a business broker, have somebody in your corner that can protect you, and make sure that they're kind of looking out ahead to see, okay, we need to make sure that this isn't disclosed. We need to make sure that confidentiality isn't breached, and all these types of things that are very important. Next, the last item on this subject is putting the business on the market for sale. No, I think that's also stating the obvious. Why would that be stressful? Well, you are going to have to put the business on the market, but keep running the business. And then you're going to have to provide a lot of detail. There's a ton of work that goes into the upfront part of listing a business for sale. So the stress of that can be a little high, but if you have a professional, you'll have someone to help you. One of the things that I want to do for my clients is make sure that they know that they can put that stress on me. I don't want them to have to carry it, and I don't want it to come out somewhere else. So making sure that you have somebody helping you is important. You have websites you can list your business on now. You can do for sale by owner, but I would definitely recommend, if you have a business partner or someone at home that you can talk to about it, that can help to you can offload that stress, that will be helpful. All right, so what's next? The next thing I want to chat with you about is something that we were talking about on the podcast. Are you actually ready? Are you actually ready to sell your business? And are you in a position to sell your business? Now, what would mean that you would not be in a position to sell your business? Well, one of the things that becomes a major problem is if you have more debt than the business is worth. That is a situation where you end up getting a little bit stuck because you have a price that you have to sell the business for, and that price is higher than, if it's higher than market value, and yet your debt is higher than that, now you're kind of upside down. It's just like when we had the housing crisis and people were upside down on their homes for a long time, and we had to wait for there to be equity before people could sell. It's a similar type of thing. Okay. And then how are your leases? Are you tied into leases that are not assignable? Do you have long lease times? Let me see, what would be another reason that you couldn't sell the business? Well, if you have partnership disputes, if you have a business partner, are you on the same page? Got to have those conversations up front. Do you have to buy your partner out? Is that something that is going to be necessary in order for you to be able to sell? Or maybe one partner wants to stay on and you want to sell your shares, and that again you're gonna have to get yourself a lawyer. Okay. All right, let's see what's next. Okay, this is something we talked about. This is a big one. So, do you have a plan? When you make the decision to sell your business, if the only thing you're thinking about is selling the business, and then I'll worry about what I'm going to do. Maybe you have a broad goal, like I'm going to retire, okay? I'm going to sell the business and then I'm going to retire. I wouldn't recommend that. We were chatting on this podcast about, I had heard somebody call into Dave Ramsey and say, hey, should I sell my business? And he said, yes, if you have something else planned. There is an unknown, I think, between small business owners that you could be risking, if you just sell your business and you don't have a plan, you don't know what you're going to do next, you could be risking loss of identity, purpose. Where do you go? What do you do? And then in severe cases, I've personally seen depression sneak in when people didn't have a plan and they no longer have their business to run. What do they do? So I think having a plan of what you're going to do post sale would be one of the most important things. And then will you be able to control the stress of running the business and the sales process? So those are two things, right? So now you have just added, if you're a busy business owner that's pretty stressed out, you now have added extra work. So you're running a dual process now. You are running your business and you are selling your business. So let's just say you do this by yourself, you list it on a for sale by owner site, you'll be receiving buyer inquiries, you'll be receiving questions. Hopefully, if you're not receiving any, then that's a different type of problem and a different type of stress. But will you be able to control the stress of running the business and selling the business at the same time? And the important thing to know is that you have to maintain the standards and the cash flow and the revenue and the employees that of the business that you have to maintain that as you prepare the business to sell. So you can't let things slip off the radar. You can't lose a customer, a big customer. You can't lose employees. You can't lose market share. You can't lose revenue. You can't lose profitability. So you really have to do you have a way to track all of that? The last thing you want to be doing is just running the business day to day and not measuring. Very important that you measure. And I think the biggest thing I would suggest is, what's your actual goal? So when it comes time to sit down and consider, okay, I'm going to sell my business, what's the real goal? I'll give you an example. So I worked with a business owner that their goal was to sell the business and walk away debt-free and retire. They didn't want any of the burdens from the business to come with them personally when they sold. So if we have that goal, we can set the goal and then we can reverse engineer the steps to sell the business. Another goal would be, somebody had a goal to retire by a certain birthday, and that's a good goal, but I think we need more to it, because you could run the risk of, okay, you're retired by this birthday, but now what? So their goal actually ended up being, they wanted to retire by a certain birthday, they wanted to relocate, and they wanted to be closer to family. So that's a pretty big goal. So we have to have that goal, and then we have to start looking back and saying, okay, what work do we need to do, and how long is it going to take to help you reach that goal? Another goal that I saw was that somebody wanted to travel. But the problem is, they only set that goal. They just said, I don't want to be tied to my business anymore. I want to retire and I want to travel. Okay. But they didn't say, what's that going to look like? Where am I going to go? How much money am I going to need for my travel ventures? Am I going to travel locally, internationally? So that was a difficult one. That goal was set, and then the wheels went in motion actually to just get to that goal. And they reached the goal of being free to travel, but they didn't actually do the traveling, because when they arrived at the freedom, they looked back and they said, oh no, now we don't have the business. So I think setting goals with intention is probably my biggest takeaway from the conversation that I just had on the podcast. Setting goals with intention. And because if you're 70 or 75, you may still have your whole last quarter left. So I think sitting down and doing some personal planning, looking at where you want your life to be, personally, professionally, even spiritually. I think that's important because your business at some point is going to need to serve you as opposed to you serving your business, which is probably what you've been doing for the last 30 or 40 years. So yeah, I would say that's my takeaway. Let's figure out intentional goals. And I think something that I'm going to do is I'm going to create some type of planner, some type of really simple goal planner. Because if we can set those goals, and then, like I say, we can reverse engineer the exit plan for your business, I think that you would be able to reach the goal in a way that's meaningful and doesn't leave you scratching your head asking what's next. So I hope this is helpful. I'll share details of the podcast when it comes available, and I'm going to be speaking on other podcasts about this topic, which I'm really excited about. It was a fun thing to do, and I really hope it's helpful. I want to get the message out there that if you are a baby boomer business owner, you have so many options available to you, but it's time to get creative and know what you want and plan. Don't wait until you have a life event that makes the decision for you that you're going to exit your business.